So if markets are efficient, then everything's really clear. Returns would reflect a complete and accurate response to new unexpected information. So new surprises, unexpected surprises would come out, and the market would have a immediate, accurate, complete response to them. We're going to assume that even if markets aren't efficient, then new unexpected information, surprises are going to come in, and it's going to respond in a reasonable way. Otherwise, we're left with chaos. But we're going to assume that in kind of a reasonable way that we're going to explain in a second is how markets would respond to new surprises, which is essentially the same as with efficiency. If it's a quote unquote good surprise, then returns would be greater than expected. If it's a bad surprise, then it would be worse than expected. So we're going to impose some simplification on our discussion of systematic and unsystematic risk. It avoids certain math and probability theory that kind of goes beyond what we want to do in 301. But our discussion is really important because it still conveys the key elements of these concepts. And these are really important concepts. They're Nobel Prize type concepts. And so hopefully you'll get those without the math and probability behind it. So recall that the actual return is equal to the expected return plus the unexpected return. So if there were no surprises at all, the actual return that we would see on the stock market or on any investment would be equal to just what we expect it to be. But that's not the way the world works. There's unexpected surprises, and so that influences the actual return. There's two pieces to the unexpected return. One is the systematic portion, and the other is the unsystematic portion. And so right now those are just big fancy terms. Hopefully I can make them mean something to you in a moment. The systematic portion, that reflects the effect of new unexpected information, so surprises, that's relevant for virtually all or all assets. And what we're going to assume in this class is that that's unexpected macroeconomic news. So it helps highlight the key concepts. So this macroeconomic news comes out about GDP or inflation, and it's relevant for all the assets out there, all the different stocks, all the different bonds, because they operate in the economy. This is relevant news for them. Second kind of surprise, the second kind of unexpected return, is unsystematic. An unsystematic part of unexpected return, that's driven by surprises, new unexpected information, that's relevant only for the particular asset or a small group of similar assets. We're going to make an extreme assumption and say that this unsystematic part is new information, surprises, that only affects one asset. So this kind of information comes out and it's relevant for stock A, but it has no effect whatsoever to stock B, C, D, E, F, G, H. But then different news comes out, and that's relevant for stock B, but it's not relevant for stock A, stock C, stock D, stock E. Stuff like maybe the CEO gets indicted, or the company signs a big contract. Those are the kinds of things that you might imagine falling under this category. So two kinds of surprises come out, and that influences the returns of a stock on a particular day or week, a year, over a particular time frame. So we've established that the actual return is the expected return, which is what you would have if there were no surprises, plus two sources of surprises. For an individual asset, so if I have a stock, then on any given day, the unsystematic part likely to not be zero. Shouldn't be zero. On any given day, we would expect some kind of a surprise that only affects that particular company. However, because they're surprises and by definition, they'll average to zero over the long term. They're unpredictable. One day they're good, one day they're bad, 2 days they're bad. It's unpredictable. But over the long term, it'll average out to zero. If it didn't average to zero over the long term, then it wouldn't be a surprise, and so by definition, the surprise averages zero. Systematic, same thing. Likely to not be zero on any given day. On any given day, we would expect some kind of macroeconomic news, good news, bad news. So it's unlikely to be zero. Again, over the long term, it will average to zero. So news comes out And if it was predictable, such that over a long term it averaged positive or negative, that would be predictable and it wouldn't be a surprise. And these are independent, uncorrelated, those are statistics terms. What it basically means is that the unsystematic portion and the systematic portion on any given day is unrelated to the systematic or unsystematic on any other given day. So you can't say, oh, it was a positive surprise yesterday, so today we're more likely to have a negative surprise or another positive surprise. Or if the individual news was good today, that tells us something about what the macroeconomic news is going to be like. They're unrelated. So total risk, that's what we've talked about already in the class. It's measured by variance and standard deviation. It captures volatility. But what is it driven by? It's driven by two components. There's two things that drive returns. Because remember, the return is equal to the expected return plus the unexpected return. The expected return stays constant, so all the volatility, all the uncertainty, all the unpredictability comes in from the unexpected return, but that's got systematic risk, which is how much, volatility there is associated with macroeconomic news that affects everybody, and the unsystematic risk, which is the volatility associated with the unexpected news that only affects one particular asset. So for every, asset, every stock, its risk, its volatility, how much the returns bounce around, are affected by two pieces.